You leave my daughter alone. Go. She's a minor.
Get out of here. Get out of here. Get your phone out of here.
Security.
Garbage. Take the shot.
To get to this one, Jason, the co-owner of the Seattle Storm, now suspended and fined for antagonizing fans who were supporting WNBA player Sophie Cunningham. The fans held signs saying, "Thank you, Sophie, for speaking up for girls." The Seattle Storm co-owner left these fans in tears, attacking them for those signs. I mean, what kind of message does that send?
Oh, the message it sends is the message they want to send. They're not welcome at Storm games, and they're not welcome in
because
the
Sophie
WNBA.
Cunningham was like, hey,
yeah,
men play in men's sports, girls play in girls sports.
God forbid we actually support women and girls in sporting competitions. I know it's very crazy.
A WNBA team owner just landed in hot water, suspended after she went after a group of teenage fans holding a sign for Sophie Cunningham. And here's the twist. Instead of celebrating the punishment, Sophie herself took the high road, and it made the whole situation look even worse for the league. She spoke up, saying there's room at her table for everyone. Biological women, biological men, trans athletes, all of it. Her message was simple. You don't have to agree with someone to still treat them with respect. She even praised the young girls for having the courage to stand behind their beliefs, hinting she might reach out to them personally. Fans didn't hold back either, calling the owner's behavior flat out embarrassing, and saying it exposed exactly what kind of leadership is sitting at the top of that franchise.
Another rally, another pro-women's rally in support of Sophie Cunningham, like there was outside of the game in Seattle. There's actually 2 more planned now. And all I've got to say is,
on paper, Tuesday night in Seattle was just another matchup. Fever versus Storm, nothing unusual. But outside Climate Pledge Arena, before tip-off even happened, things were already heating up. A crowd had gathered, some there to show support for Sophie Cunningham, others connected to a Washington ballot measure on fairness in girls' sports that's been picking up momentum statewide. This wasn't just about one player anymore. It was about a bigger fight that had been simmering for weeks, and it all came to a head right before this game began.
She's covering your sign.
Rewind about a week. That's when Sophie Cunningham sat down for an ESPN interview and got asked point blank about protecting fairness in girls' sports. She didn't dodge the question or throw shade at anyone. She gave a straight, honest answer. But that one moment was enough. Once her words hit the internet, people ran with it, connecting the dots however they wanted, whether or not that's actually what she meant.
This is WNBA star Sophie Cunningham. She recently voiced her opinion on trans women in sports, and it led to a courtside confrontation. So ESPN published an interview with Sophie earlier this month in which they explained that she is called Mag Barbie by some. She said that she got that title simply because of how she looks and where she's from, which is Missouri, but she described herself as in the middle politically. And then she got into talking about trans women in sports. And she said, I got a lot of negative feedback about me hating trans. And I'm like, I never once said that. She said, I think that I'm here to extend love, but I also think that love is truth, being honest. And I want to protect young girls in a locker room or young girls in sports who shouldn't have to go against biological men. So that is the quote that gained a lot of attention. Her podcast co-host.
In just a few days, this stopped being a basketball story altogether. It went national, got talked about on morning shows, and turned into one of those hot-button topics that spreads way past the WNBA world. Cunningham never went looking for that kind of spotlight, but once it found her, she didn't shy away either. And that refusal to back down is exactly why this whole thing kept snowballing, all the way to Tuesday night in Seattle.
Well, we were just sitting there with our signs that said, like, we love Sophie, like, thank you, Sophie, for speaking up. And so we were holding on, just watching the game. Again, like, we were being super great. We hadn't said anything to anyone else. We were being super respectful. We were just holding our signs and cheering for both teams. And this lady, older lady, comes up to us. And she comes up to us, and at first I think she's going to be nice. And then she asks, like, what are you guys doing? Something like that. And then it was like, Jesus loves everyone. That's what she told us. And I was like, oh, I know. Like, I'm religious. Like, I know. Like, I know.
Nice.
Yeah. And she's like, oh, I hope Jesus can forgive you for what sin you've done. And like something like that. And then she told us that we were effing insane. And that we
And she's
needed
like,
to-
and she went like
Yes.
insane.
Yeah.
She's like, you better stop this
and stop pulling
shit.
this. Yeah.
And
For you
I
guys to
hope
come
God
here
can
and
save
pull
you.
this.
Picture this. A basketball game turns into a national firestorm. Not because of anything that happened on the court, but because of a piece of paper two teenagers were holding in the stands. And by the time the dust settled, a team owner was suspended, a league was scrambling to explain itself, and one player ended up looking like the only adult in the room. Let's break down exactly how this unfolded. It started with something almost embarrassingly small. Two teenage fans got into the arena and took their seats courtside, holding up a sign. The message on it wasn't rude, wasn't political in tone, wasn't aimed at anyone negatively. It simply said, "Thanks to Sophie Cunningham for speaking up for girls." That's it. No insults. No shade thrown at any other player. Just gratitude. But according to the girls, who later spoke to a podcast host right after the game, a woman walked up to them in the middle of play and told them their shirts and their presents were insane. She reportedly brought up religion, telling them Jesus loves everyone, then adding she hoped they'd be forgiven for whatever they'd done wrong. One of the girls said she was in tears before the night was even over, blindsided by how quickly a fun night out had turned into something deeply uncomfortable. Here's the part that really stings. The woman who confronted them wasn't just some random fan. She was later identified as Celeste Keaton, a minority owner of the Seattle Storm. Think about the power imbalance there. This wasn't two fans getting into it with each other. This was someone with an ownership stake in the franchise going after teenagers. And it gets worse. While the pro-Cunningham sign was forced down, another sign nearby, one carrying an anti-Cunningham message about unity, was allowed to stay up without any issue. So right away, people started asking an obvious question. Why did one sign get shut down while the other one didn't? When the podcast host who first shared this story tried to get security involved on the girl's behalf, she says she was told to just send an email to the front office instead. Sit with that for a second. A full-grown adult with a financial stake in the team had just cursed at kids, made them cry, and the response in that exact moment was basically, put in a written complaint and we'll circle back. No apology on the spot. No staff members stepping in to calm things down. Just a redirect to email, as if two crying teenagers being yelled at courtside was something to be dealt with later, like a shipping complaint, instead of handled right then and there. Once this story hit social media, it spread fast. Within a day, sports commentators, podcasters, and news outlets were all talking about it. The pressure built quickly, and by Thursday, the league had no choice but to respond. The WNBA fined Keaton an amount that wasn't publicly disclosed and banned her from attending the Storm's next 5 home games. That's a real punishment, no doubt about it. But look at the timeline here. The incident happened on a Tuesday night. The video and the girl's account went public on Wednesday. The Storm's own statement never even mentioned Keaton by name. And it took the league until Thursday, a full 2 days, to confirm any actual discipline. For a story that exploded this fast, that's not exactly a quick response from a league that usually moves fast when it wants bad headlines to go away. Now let's talk about that apology from the team, because it's worth breaking down. The Storm's majority owner released a statement acknowledging that one of the co-owners made comments to two fans, apologizing that it happened, and saying every fan deserves to feel welcome and respected. Sounds fine on the surface, right? But read it again closely. It never names Keaton. It never describes what she actually said. And this statement only came out after the internet applied serious pressure, not because the organization decided on its own to be transparent. If nobody had posted about what those girls went through, there's a real chance this entire story quietly disappears, and Keaton keeps her courtside seat with zero consequences. Now here's where things take an interesting turn, because Sophie Cunningham's reaction is really what separates this whole story from a typical online blow-up. She didn't come out swinging. She didn't call for anyone to be fired. She didn't try to fan the flames. Instead, she posted online that she genuinely believes there's room and love for everyone at her table. Biological women, biological men, trans women, trans men, all of it. Her point was simple. Disagreement doesn't have to come with cruelty. You can hold a strong opinion and still treat people with kindness. Then she went further, praising the two girls for having the courage to stand behind what they believe, and hinting she'd be reaching out to them personally, with gifts, even. She didn't stop at defending her position. She turned an ugly, humiliating night for two teenagers into something personal and kind, using her own platform to make sure those girls walked away feeling supported instead of forgotten once the story faded from headlines. That's not a small gesture. That's someone actively choosing grace over outrage. And the public noticed. In the days following, her merchandise sold out almost completely, sneakers gone in both men's and women's sizes within an hour. Her jersey shot up to become the second best-selling jersey in the entire league, trailing only her own teammate. Media figures publicly backed the two girls who'd been confronted, and even political figures weighed in, suggesting Cunningham's stance reflected where most people already stood on the broader issue. This wasn't just a basketball story anymore. It had spilled way outside the sport entirely, into a much bigger national conversation. And what's remarkable is that Cunningham never had to raise her voice to keep the story moving in her favor. She stayed exactly as calm and direct as she'd been in her very first interview weeks earlier, restating her position without backing down, while still finding room to speak kindly about people who disagreed with her. That combination, firmness paired with warmth, is rare. And it's a big reason even people who don't fully share her views ended up respecting how she handled the entire situation. Now, let's talk about the double standard that's impossible to ignore here. At that same game, a Storm player wore a shirt supporting trans rights, and absolutely nobody stopped her at the door. Nobody said a word publicly. And to be clear, that's completely her right. Nobody should tell her what she can or can't wear into her own arena. But here's the contrast. Two teenage fans quietly holding a thank you sign for a visiting player got confronted by a team owner and called insane in front of thousands of people. So the obvious question becomes, if a sign that just says thank you gets someone cursed out by ownership, while a shirt making the opposite statement gets total silence and comfort, what does that actually say about where the organization really stands? Meanwhile, the visiting team didn't exactly cover itself in glory either. After the game, reporters asked the head coach about the incident, and she had nothing to say. Instead, a prepared statement came out claiming the organization and Cunningham had no knowledge of any demonstration outside the arena and no connection to whoever organized it, insisting their only focus was winning games. That statement conveniently skipped right past the fact that two of their own fans had just been mistreated for supporting one of their players. It left the rest of the roster fielding questions about a situation that had nothing to do with anything happening on the court. Put it all together, and you get a picture of a league that spent this entire saga reacting instead of leading. A vague apology that avoided naming names. Days of delay before confirming any punishment. A visiting team distancing itself instead of standing up for its own fans. None of that looks like an organization in control of its own story. It looks like one getting dragged into doing the right thing only after public pressure made ignoring it impossible. And that's really the heart of this whole story once you strip away all the noise. Sophie Cunningham didn't go looking for controversy. She answered one honest question weeks ago, and when the fallout eventually landed back on her doorstep, she met it with grace instead of anger. The team had to publicly apologize. The league had to fine and suspend one of its own owners. And through all of it, the person who comes out looking the best is the one who never raised her voice, never demanded sympathy, and still found a way to make two humiliated teenagers feel seen and supported. So here's the real question worth sitting with. In a moment built for outrage, why was it the athlete, not the ownership, not the league, who actually showed real leadership? If this story got you thinking, drop your take in the comments, hit that like button, and subscribe so you don't miss what happens next in this saga, because this one is far from over.